That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
All right, guys, gonna be completely honest here. I am so goddamn annoyed with everyone on Patreon whenever I've been talking about trading, talking about rookie drafts, and people telling me, oh, I have the 104. That means I'm going to be drafting Jamar Chase. So here's my team, and imagine that Jamar Chase is on it. And I'm trying to explain to them going, you have no idea what that pick is going to turn into. Please, please, please do not pigeonhole yourself into a certain prospect regardless of whatever pick you are selecting at until we know way more data points. I mean, we have not had the pro days yet. We have not had the NFL draft yet. We still need to see so many different things to kind of figure out how these rookie drafts are going to go. So while at the very top, like at the 101, you kind of understand that you're probably going to be going with Trevor Lawrence. And generally, those picks are going to be a little bit sticky from our pre-draft evaluations to where they'll be after the draft. Those late first round picks, it's going to be extremely volatile. I mean, some players that you think are going to be looked at in the pick 107, 108 range, they could fall. They could rise. You have no idea what we are going to be talking about a few months from now. So please do not be overconfident with how you are projecting those picks currently. And this is why I'm advising y'all to load up on those late first round, early second round rookie picks, because a lot of guys that you're just assuming are going to be drafted at the 106, the 107, they could be falling to you at the very beginning of the second round, depending on how things shake out. So I thought the best way that I could go through and actually like kind of show y'all what I'm talking about here is do a mock draft where we take a NFL mock draft with landing spots, with draft capital, and go, okay, if this happens, what are the values going to look like? Who's going to be going at the 103? Who's going to be going at the 104? And so on. So I think maybe once a weekend for maybe the next few months, what I can do is I can go out there and look at a different website and use one of their mock drafts and then just kind of play around with it. Go, okay, if this happens, if we have Trey Lance go at this pick, where is he going to be going in the overall context of the rookie draft? So let's do that now. This mock draft I'm going to be using is going to be from walterfootball.com. Regardless of whatever you think of the website, anything is possible in the NFL draft. So I think if we use more websites, if we go out there and make more of these videos, y'all are just going to have a great understanding on how wide of the range of outcomes are on these prospects, especially in the later first round. But that's it, and let's talk about the first player that's being drafted in this rookie mock draft, and this is going to be Trevor Lawrence. So by nobody's surprise, Trevor Lawrence is going off the board in the NFL mock draft to the Jacksonville Jaguars at the first overall pick. And if that does happen, which it will happen, and we do not have any of the premium running backs landing in fantastic landing spots, Trevor Lawrence is going to be the consensus first overall pick in Dynasty Superflex leagues. If you play in a one quarterback league, I know y'all are probably going to be complaining about this mock draft, but it's very simple. Just take the quarterbacks off the draft board and then look at the rest of the players, and then you can kind of build out how your one quarterback league would look. But in a Superflex league, Trevor Lawrence is pretty much the safest investment that you could ever make. I know a lot of people want to talk about him being the best prospect since Andrew Luck, yada, yada, yada. I'm not going to dive into that just because we know that quarterback evaluations going into the NFL, literally the hardest job that you could have, but pretty much does not matter if you're an analytics guy, does not matter if you're a film guy. Everybody does agree that Trevor Lawrence is an elite level prospect. And what I actually like to see is the fact that Trevor Lawrence is kind of like that Joe Burrow in that he is not going to be a statue. He is not going to be a quarterback that we expect to be a Tom Brady, a Drew Brees, a more recent example of a Josh Rosen or a Dwayne Haskins, where he does not necessarily have any mobility out of the pocket, where he cannot pick up rushing yards and add to his fantasy success. Because we know at the quarterback position in fantasy, rushing is almost everything except when you're the level of a player of a Trevor Lawrence. So here, knowing that he is that elite level passer, on top of it having the rushing equity, and he's going first overall in the NFL draft, I think we are going to have him first in this mock draft. Okay, so now our second player that we are going to be taking in this Dynasty rookie mock draft is going to be Justin Fields. And if we look at the NFL mock draft that we are basing this off of, the New York Jets decide to take Justin Fields at the second overall pick. And I know a lot of people are not going to like me putting Justin Fields this high up. But guys, please go out there and look at a recent Dynasty Superflex startup and just understand that these rushing quarterbacks are at a giant premium. I mean, right now, Justin Fields, we know he is going to be providing you rushing ability, and that's going to translate directly over to fantasy production. And very similar to why I was aggressively targeting Jalen Hurts in rookie drafts last offseason, I think we should be doing the same thing with Justin Fields here, but to an even greater extent. And that's because whenever you get that draft capital of being the second overall pick at regardless of the position you're playing in, you guarantee yourself that you are going to have a starting role on that offense for the foreseeable future. So even if Justin Fields maybe has to compete with Sam Darnold and maybe has to sit behind Sam Darnold for a short time before he can take over as the starter for New York in this scenario, I still think Justin Fields in the long haul is 100% going to be worth the investment you would make here. All right, so now let's keep it with that same team. Let's go over with the New York Jets, who are going to be taking our next player at 23rd overall in the NFL draft. And this is going to be Najee Harris, who we are taking with the 3rd overall pick in our Dynasty Superflex rookie draft. And with Najee Harris, I have been on record saying he is not a foolproof prospect. I mean, he does have some question marks. I know a lot of people want to look at his pass catching ability, saying that he's going to be pigeonholed as a first and second down grinder in the NFL. While I do not agree with that. I think that Najee Harris is more than talented at catching the ball, and I think he should be very similar to a Jonathan Taylor, who a lot of other people kind of did not expect to be a massive pass catcher coming out of Wisconsin. I think Najee Harris is going to surprise some people with his pass catching ability once he gets to the NFL level. Really, the only question that I have for Najee is, what is the top end speed? Is he going to be able to go out there and really put on a show in him actually having big play potential? Because a lot of his quote-unquote big plays at Alabama were from 30 yards out, 20 yards out, very similar to David Montgomery coming out of Iowa State a long time ago. We understand that if you do not have that top end speed, while you may be a fantastic running back, you can still be a workhorse running back. You are not necessarily going to have that Derrick Henry level upside that we are all chasing. All right, so now our next pick with the 4th overall selection in this rookie draft is going to be very controversial. I understand that, but we are going to be taking Trey Lance here, who in this rookie mock draft, in the NFL mock draft we're basing this off of, Trey Lance went to San Francisco with the 12th overall selection. And here with Trey Lance, I understand that this is a quarterback that does have his question marks surrounding him. I mean, obviously, Trey Lance is not a complete prospect by any means, but if we throw the level of competition out the window, if we look at this draft capital, look at the fact that Trey Lance is only 20 years old. He's going to be 20 years old for the foreseeable future, so I think he is not even close to reaching his full upside. And the fact that in 2019, Trey Lance had 1,100 rushing yards. He had 28 passing touchdowns with no interceptions. I think that Trey Lance has all the upside in the world. I mean, I think we could be looking at Trey Lance being the next Lamar Jackson. And while we can't necessarily come on here and say that Trey Lance is ever going to win a Super Bowl, that San Francisco is going to love their selection of Trey Lance with the 12th overall pick, what we can say is, from a fantasy football perspective, when you are drafting those quarterbacks that have the elite rushing upside, they can truly change your roster. And landing in San Francisco with George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Kyle Shanahan, I could not think of a better landing spot for this extremely young quarterback with all the rushing upside in the world. Okay, so now our next player is also going to be someone that y'all do not want to hear about. I mean, y'all want Travis Etienne, y'all want Jamar Chase, y'all want Kyle Pitts. I know those are the players you are wanting to hear their name called, But no, if you were looking at how quarterback value changes after rookie seasons and where you invest into them, I think a lot of dynasty owners are going to become a lot smarter in investing into these quarterbacks that get the NFL draft capital at the very beginning of their super flex rookie drafts. And this is why we're going to have Zach Wilson as our 5th player in this rookie mock draft. And in the NFL mock draft we are basing this off of, we have Zach Wilson going to the Atlanta Falcons with the 4th overall pick. And I know a lot of people are going to be sitting here and saying, Mason, you just talked about Trey Lance, who went off at the 12th pick to the San Francisco 49ers, going ahead of Zach Wilson, who arguably is finding himself in a better landing spot with Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones. And my entire take here is the reason we are taking Zach Wilson after a player like Trey Lance is just because Zach Wilson does not necessarily provide us the same level of rushing upside. And while I know a ton of fantasy football analysts are going to want to come out here, they're going to want to give you their quarterback scouting reports as if it matters, as if these guys who are literally just accountants in their day job can look at a quarterback in a YouTube video and tell you this guy's going to be successful at the NFL level, this guy is not, even though people who get paid a substantial amount of money to actually go see these players in person, have workouts with them, watch every single second of film, on top of that conduct interviews with them, kind of get a feel of their character. I think we should be listening to the NFL talent evaluators, except the only difference we are going to be tweaking when we are valuing these quarterbacks coming into the NFL draft is we need to be looking at rushing upside, we need to be looking at landing spot. So that is why Zach Wilson, while he does have the draft capital to be going a little bit ahead of this, I think we are going to have him behind Trey Lance because the rushing upside is not there, even though the fit is fantastic. I think if we have Zach Wilson going off in the top 5 of the NFL draft, we're going to have to take notice. You have to take him here in your dynasty rookie drafts. All right, so now let's go to a player that I know y'all are wanting to hear his name called. And with the 6th pick in this dynasty rookie draft, we are going to be going with Travis Etienne. And the NFL mock draft we are basing this off of has Travis Etienne going to the Miami Dolphins at pick 36 overall. And I'm on record, just like Najee Harris, saying Travis Etienne is not a foolproof prospect. I mean, he is very similar to a player like Najee Harris in that he has so many fantastic things about his profile. But there is one thing that stands out that we cannot ignore, and that is Travis Etienne's size. Now here, I am very looking forward to what we have Travis Etienne weighing in at for the Clemson Pro Day, also seeing his athletic numbers. We know that Travis Etienne is a track star. We know that Travis Etienne is going to be a monster at his pro day in the numbers he's able to put up at the 40-yard dash and etc. And on top of that, the number one thing we can get excited about with Travis Etienne is the fact that he is a fantastic pass catcher. Now, I had no idea why he went back to Clemson for his senior season. I thought that he should have came out in 2020. I thought that he had nothing he could do to his profile to make him look any more appealing for NFL teams. But he went back in 2020 and had 48 receptions. Now, Travis Etienne had always been a player that we knew could catch passes, but 48 receptions in a college season at the running back position is absurd. I mean, that is something that we have to take notice with. And here with Travis Etienne, I think that he has the upside to be this year's DeAndre Swift. And obviously, the landing spot with the Miami Dolphins at 36 would be fantastic. Okay, so now our next player, we are going to keep it with Miami. This mock had the Miami Dolphins taking Devonta Smith at 3 overall to pair with his college quarterback. And here with Devonta Smith, I know I am so tired of hearing everybody come out here and just talk down on him. I understand he does have red flags, very similar to these other prospects at the top of the draft. Devonta Smith, very similar to Travis Etienne. I need to see what he weighs. I need to see his official size at the Alabama Pro Day. On top of that, if he is going to be a smaller wide receiver, what we need to see is we need to see him have elite level athleticism, which I do not think that we are going to get the elite level athletic profile for Devonta Smith. So what we need is Devonta Smith to come in and put up a respectable weight that we do not have to be worried about him being too slight to play the wide receiver position. because the number one thing that I'm actually looking at with these wide receivers coming out of college is production at an early age. And I understand that we did not have Devonta Smith absolutely destroying college football at age 19, at age 20, and it took him until his senior season for him to post 117 receptions, 1,900 receiving yards, 23 total touchdowns. But it's really easy to explain away why we did not get this with Devonta Smith. And it's because he played alongside Jerry Jeudy. He played alongside Henry Ruggs, Jalen Waddle. I mean, really, what would you be expecting for Devonta Smith if he was on a different college football roster? I think if that happened, Devonta Smith would have had that elite level dominator rating at a very young age, but he found himself in a bad situation. And if he's going this high in the NFL draft, and if he's finding himself as the wide receiver 1 on a team that desperately needs one, I think Devonta Smith would be a fantastic pick. Okay, so now let's go to our next player who in this mock draft was taken by the Detroit Lions at 7 overall, and this is Jamar Chase. So I understand, guys, Jamar Chase could very easily be a better wide receiver than Devonta Smith, and I understand the majority of people in Dynasty are going to have Jamar Chase ranked ahead of Devonta Smith. But the problem here is we have a much worse landing spot for Jamar Chase in this range of outcome, where he goes to Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions, whereas Devonta Smith is with Tua and the Miami Dolphins. And we saw that the NFL was willing to evaluate Devonta Smith with a higher grade over Jamar Chase, which we definitely need to consider in our calculations. But this does not take anything away from Jamar Chase. I mean, Jamar Chase on his own right can be the next CeeDee Lamb. Jamar Chase can be a dominant wide receiver. He's athletic. He is massive. He outproduced Justin Jefferson at a younger age in the season where Joe Burrow led that team to the national title. So we have so many boxes being checked by Jamar Chase. The only difference between him and Devonta Smith is Devonta Smith has a long track record where we can go, Devonta Smith went from A to B, B to C, C to D, and we can understand why it took him a little bit longer to get to that 1,900-yard season than we would like to see from these wide receivers. Jamar Chase, we have one elite level season, and it is absurd what he was able to do alongside Justin Jefferson, which is why we have him as our second wide receiver here at the 107. But if we are looking at these two profiles, unless Devonta Smith does come in extremely undersized at his pro day, which is entirely possible, I'm still going to maintain my stance of Devonta Smith being the wide receiver 1 in this draft class, where Jamar Chase still has a ton of upside. But let me know what y'all would think here with the landing spot of the Detroit Lions at 7. Obviously, Kenny Gallaudet is a free agent this offseason, and I would be very surprised if Gallaudet wants to stay in Detroit for a multitude of reasons. 1, it's Detroit. 2, he's playing with Jared Goff. And 3, that this team has no chance to win anytime soon. So if Jamar Chase found himself in this landing spot, I think he would be soaking up a ridiculous amount of targets. All right, so now let's get to our next player, as someone that I get a question about every single day on Patreon, and this is Kyle Pitts. And here in the NFL mock draft we're basing this off of, Kyle Pitts is going to the Philadelphia Eagles with the 9th overall selection. And personally, as a massive Dallas Goddard fan, I do not understand this, but I'm not here to criticize that mock draft. I'm here to say crazier things have happened. And we saw the Philadelphia Eagles, while Zach Ertz was one of the top tight ends in the NFL, still decide to invest into Dallas Goddard. So I guess we could say that they have it in the range of outcomes to do the same thing with Kyle Pitts. And here, I just want to give a small little tangent. I know Kyle Pitts is an elite level tight end prospect. I mean, coming out of Florida, there are very few players that look as exciting as Kyle Pitts. But the one thing is, what is the realistic rookie year expectation where you'd be willing to take Kyle Pitts over one of those top end running backs or over one of those top end wide receivers? Because we've seen it time and time and time again. I mean, just going back all the way to 2017, where you had David Njoku, you had O.J. Howard coming out, and they looked like elite level tight end prospects, and they were elite level tight end prospects. And their rookie seasons, they don't do much. They lose some value. And then our next year that we're going to look at in 2018, that's the year where we had a Dallas Goddard. And Dallas Goddard is the one example that we can look at where he had the massive spike in value after his rookie season. In 2019, that was the year where we had TJ Hawkinson, Noah Fant, and Irv Smith. And even then, whenever they did have impressive rookie seasons, you don't see their value double. You don't see their value triple like you could with another quarterback that was drafted in the first round, like a Justin Herbert. It's just not in the range of outcomes for Kyle Pitts, where I think, yeah, I mean, his value is going to be safe, and that if he does not produce in year one, a lot of people are going to be looking at it and going, hey, it's a tight end. We didn't expect him to produce. We shouldn't be lowering him down drastically. But at the same time, it's not like it's possible for Kyle Pitts to come out here and see 80 receptions for over 1,000 yards and just automatically vault up into that George Kittle, Travis Kelce tier. All right, so now our next player, someone that is extremely polarizing, is going to be Jalen Waddle here with the 109 in this rookie mock draft. And the NFL mock draft we're basing this off of has Jalen Waddle going to the New York Giants at pick 11 overall. And here with Waddle, the entire story is elite level speed. He is going to be a field stretching option. He is going to be pretty much taking over the Darius Slayton role in this offense. And generally, I do not like the idea of going out there and investing into that field stretching wide receiver. I mean, I've talked about it a lot with our main man, the guy who makes the thumbnails, Tia Kappa. Love talking with him, and he was telling me that he really, the only way he will invest into one of those field stretching wide receivers is if they are attached to an elite level quarterback. So you're looking at the Tyreek Hill with Patrick Mahomes. But if they are not attached to that elite level quarterback, you see year after year after year that player disappoint in fantasy because their role in their NFL offense does not necessarily dictate that they see a ton of volume. Here with Jalen Waddle, we're obviously going to have the same level of concerns, but him going at 11 overall to the New York Giants is just going to make sure that he is an every down player for that team. And if you're going to be able to take that ninth in your rookie draft, I think that's going to be a decent pick. All right, so now let's just do one more pick. I'm going to make more videos like this, guys, so we will be talking about more of these players with different things in mind. And I'm not going to be going over 3 guys that I know y'all are begging for right now, but this is why I'm making this video. I want everyone to understand. While we can come in and we can be very convicted with a couple of prospects we like at this point, if the NFL draft does not agree with us, if these players fall down significantly, it's in the range of outcomes that they're falling to the second round. Players like this are Rondale Moore, who in this NFL mock draft was taken by the Buffalo Bills at pick 61. Rashad Bateman, in this NFL draft, he was taken by the Arizona Cardinals at 79. And Javonte Williams, who fell all the way to pick 121 to the Baltimore Ravens in this mock draft. And while I understand y'all probably do not agree with these evaluations, that does not take away from the fact that it is in the range of outcomes that we see something crazy like this. I mean, just remember, guys, back to 2019 when a lot of people had Hakeem Butler as their wide receiver 1. A lot of people had him ranked ahead of A.J. Brown and DK Metcalf in that draft before the NFL draft, and then you have him falling to the 4th round. I mean, we see every single season that there are a few players that the fantasy community is a lot higher on than the NFL draft community. So the entire point of this exercise is to really understand that we do not necessarily know exactly what's going to happen, and we need to be a little bit flexible going forward. But anyway, our last player is going to be Terrace Marshall, who the Green Bay Packers decided to take at the very end of the first round with pick 29. Not too much to talk about here. Really a prospect that has a decent amount of question marks, but he played on a great team with great wide receivers around him. He was an elite level high school prospect going into college, so we know that he is going to be that elite level athlete. Once he has his pro day, I guarantee you he is someone that should be rising up draft boards just because people are going to go, oh crap, did you see those numbers? Did you see that size? This is going to be someone that can make an impact on the NFL football field. And I think that's why this NFL mock draft has him going at the back half of round 1. And obviously, if you're landing with the Green Bay Packers at 29, that's going to be a situation we like a lot more Then a player like Rondell Moore at 61 to the Bills, or Rashad Bateman at 79 to the Arizona Cardinals. Okay, now, thank you guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I really hope y'all got something from it. As always, if y'all did, go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a ton, and I'll see y'all with the video tomorrow.